Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Punatu Saha Viryam Karavavai Chasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verses 11 to 20.
Divyamalyambaradharam Divyagandhanulepanam Sarvascharyamayam Devam Anantam Vishwatomukham Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhavedyugapadutthita Yadi bhasadrishi sa syat bhasastasya mahatmanaha tatraikastham jagat kritsnam pravibhaktamanekadha apashyad deva devasya sharire pandavastada ततः स विस्मयाविष्टः हृष्टरो मा धनञ्जयः प्रणम्य शिरसा देवम् कृताञ्जलिरभाषत अर्जुन उवाच पश्यामि देवांस्तव देवदेहे सर्वांस्तथा भूतविशेषसङ्घान् ब्रह्माणमीशं कमलासनस्थम् ऋषींश्च सर्वानुरगांश्च दिव्यान् अनेकबाहूदरवक्त्रनेत्रम् पश्यामि त्वां सर्वतोऽनन्तरूपम् नान्तं न मध्यं न पुनस्तवादिम् पश्यामि विश्वेश्वर विश्वरूप किरीटिनं गदिनं चक्रिणं च तेजोराशिं सर्वतो दीप्तिमन्तम् पश्यामि त्वां दुर्निरीक्ष्यं समन्तात् दीप्तानलार्कद्युतिमप्रमेयम् त्वमक्षरं परमं वेदितव्यम् त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम् त्वमव्ययः शाश्वतधर्मगोप्ता सनातनस्त्वं पुरुषो मतो मे अनादिमध्यान्तमनन्तवीर्यम् अनन्तबाहुं शशिसूर्यनेत्रम् पश्यामि त्वां दीप्तहुताशवक्त्रम् स्वतेजसा विश्वमिदं तपन्तम् द्यावा पृथिव्योरिदमन्तरं हि व्याप्तं त्वयैकेन दिशश्च सर्वाः दृष्टाद्भुतं रूपमुग्रं तवेदम् लोकत्रयं प्रव्यथितं महात्मन्।
the marvelous form of the Lord, the Vishwarupa Darshana, speaks in a dual tone. It is inspiring, creating. If you look at it from the perspective of emotions, and very interestingly, at the same time, it's also talking Advaita. While it is supposedly showing a form, it talks Advaita. So it's a wonderful word picture. If you forget about trying to understand it, you can just be inspired by that form. Or if you say, how is this possible? How is this possible? Then there's a perfect explanation to why any of these things are given. So we saw this very good explanation, this very good way of putting it. Because religious education or education on life has to be inclusive, right? Everybody has to know it. And the more people who know this, the more the benefit. If one person in this country knows this knowledge, it will benefit the country. But amazing if everybody knows it. If 4 people on this planet know it would be amazing. But imagine if everybody knows it. So it has always been the what should I say, the attempt of the teachers, of the great gurus of the past, to have this knowledge available for everybody. It's very inclusive. But it was misunderstood, it still is misunderstood as being very exclusive. Some people say, no, it's not inclusive, it's very exclusive. It's all Brahminical. And they use the word Brahminical like as if it's a really bad word. Now, it's also true that it's exclusive. So, in some sense, it is exclusive. In some sense, it's very inclusive. It's very inclusive because this knowledge is meant to go out to everybody. But it's exclusive in the sense that you can't simply offload the highest knowledge to everybody. You need the adhikaris, people who are capable of understanding the higher truths. So if people are not capable of understanding the higher truths, then it is explained to them in stories and Puranas and other granths which are available. And then they're told, that for these people, you study these texts, for these people, these texts, for these people, these texts. And then, of course, there's always a negative way of looking at it, which is, who told you I can't read those books? No, it's not somebody else telling us. You yourself choose which book to read based on your characteristics. If you're an emotional person, then please read the stories, the Puranas, the ancient tales. If you're a child, then you should be reading Panchatantra, Hitopadesha. These are the kind of texts for children. Or the stories of the great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. And that too, not as a complete story, just little bits and pieces, as we all as children have learned. It was a traditional education. And then as you go higher, then you learn logic. And after you learn logic, then you learn Vedanta. So they said Vedanta is very exclusive. Because the assumption is you've covered all these things and come there. Which people misunderstood as if the knowledge is not to be told to everybody. No, the knowledge has to be told to everybody, but in different ways, so that it's of appeal to them who is listening. Because if it doesn't appeal to the person who's listening, there's no point you're talking. So one such beautiful example of this is, I hope you all are listening. All have all gone to sleep. Even I'm feeling quite sleepy today. All have all gone to sleep.
Adhikari. It would be Adhikari.
So what is that example? Which is the example we are currently doing?
Krishna talking to Arjuna.
Krishna talking to Arjuna. Very good. And more than that, at the moment, is showing this form. This form is not for an Advaita student. He will say, what are you showing me? What is this form you're showing me? Do you know the story of Dhruv? the story goes that it's a long story. He wanted to sit on his father's lap. His stepmother didn't allow him. Blah blah. You're all familiar with the story of Dhruva?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so everyone's familiar with that. So the important thing is, Narada comes to him. He goes to the forest to meditate. Now, when Narada comes to him, Narada tells him that God is within you. And then the story goes eventually that Vishnu, after all his tapas in the forest, the great god Vishnu, shows his form to Dhruva. Dhruva's eyes are closed. So he says, open your eyes, my child. I am in front of you. And Dhruva says, no, sorry. My guru said, you are inside. If you are really Vishnu, you come inside. I am not opening my eyes. Now, imagine that. What must be the maturity of this child who could make a statement like that? So even when you are teaching Advaita to children, look at how it is told. And the story goes, of course, Vishnu came inside, means he understood it was an introvert. Now, suppose you tell a child, that the self is the original nature of the being. The child doesn't understand what you're talking about. But look at how beautifully it is told. But if it is God, then you'll see him with your eyes closed. Interesting ways of communicating. Now, over here, what is happening? For those who have deep belief in Krishna, a deep belief in Vishnu, a deep belief in the traditions of maybe the Vaishnava sect and things like that, to them it's amazing. This whole thought of seeing a vision of the Lord, just amazing. But those who are Advaita prone, there they are. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? No, you read carefully, it is still talking Advaita. So at the same time, it is speaking bhakti as well as jnana. And we saw that, right, in the last verse. He says, Aneka Vaktra Nayanam. Aneka, many, Vaktra Nayanam. Many mouths, many eyes. Aneka. Manoranjan Sahu, you have started screen sharing?
Not coming on screen.
Why are you putting anything on screen? Remove it. Thank you. All right, so Aneka Vaktra Nayanam. Aneka Nayanam, many eyes, many mouths. Now think of it if you are seeing the vision of the Lord. Many eyes, imagine beautiful eyes of the Lord, beautiful mouths of the Lord, many all over the place. Aneka Adbhuta Darshanam, marvelous visions. Imagine you're seeing in the Lord all the most wonderful things that you could have ever wanted to see. The most beautiful apsaras, the most beautiful, what else? Okay, the most beautiful Kohinoor diamond and the most beautiful things you can think of seeing. Marvelous sights. Many divine ornaments. He's all dressed up and beautiful, the grandeur, You've seen even in the Christian church when they all come, all dressed up and all, and they all walk, all the clergy together, the whole procession. It looks marvelous. So like that he has come, or a king has come fully dressed in all his robes and everything. So marvelous divine ornaments and many uplifted weapons. So many handiyas, right? All of them filled with uplifted weapons. So imagine that as a sight. And your mind can be lifted up to that divine feeling. But if you cannot imagine that as a sight, Then if you read it carefully, it is still talking Advaita. With many mouths and eyes. Mouths represents organs of actions. Eyes represent organs of perception. Marvelous visions means the external world, what you're seeing outside. So what do they represent? It represents the experiencer who sees, who acts, and what he experiences, the experienced, what he sees or what he acts upon. The experiencer and the experienced in one form. Pure Advaita. With many divine ornaments and many uplifted weapons. Ornaments represents peace. When you went to Diwali, you wore all your ornaments and went, right? And uplifted weapons represents war. When the Jawans go whatever. What is that glacier they go on to called Siachen or something? Do they go in ornaments? They have all their weapons ready, right? You see them, all the guns are ready and all of this. Uplifted weapons represents war. Not just weapons in pockets, uplifted weapons. So, peace and war. These represent the pairs of opposites. So, all the pairs of opposites in one form. Isn't this not pure Advaita? Where the subject and the object merge. Where the pairs of opposites meet, which is Dvandva, Tita. So, either way, whether you look at it from Bhakti or you look at it from Jnana, this whole thing makes perfect sense. And please don't think any one way is better than the other. Both ways are wrong. What is important is not which way you look at it. What is important is, are you using it for your spiritual growth? That's what's important. Because obviously both are available to us, right? We have a mind, we have an intellect. And as long as we are able to direct this to the higher, we've done our job. So don't get into any discussion on which is better. Both are inspiring in their own way. Verse 11. Divyamalyambaradaram Divyagandhanulepanam Sarvascharyamayam Devam Anantam Vishwatomukham Divyamalyambaradaram Divyagandhanulepanam Sarvascharyamayam Devam Anantam Vishwatomukham. Same phenomena you will see even now. The appeal to the devotional and the appeal to the intellectual. Divya Malam Bharataram. Wearing divine malas. And Ambara. Ambara means clothes. He's wearing divine garlands and clothes. Divya, Gandha, Anulepanam. Divya, divine. Gandha is fragrances. Anulepanam. Lepa, you know, right? The lep which you put. Chandan ka lep or some lep you put. Wearing all this. Sarvascharya mayam. Maya means to be full of something. I don't know how to explain Maya. If you go to Gujarat and drink coffee, how it is sugar mayam. It's all full of coffee, of sugar. It's all sugar. Full of it. So the divine, it's full of sarva ascharyamayam. Everything is full of ascharya. Ascharya. Ascharya means wonderment. When you consider the Lord, it's just wonderment. What is that reality? What is that truth? Every bit of this universe functioning so meticulously. Morning to night. There's a wonder in everything. How the hair grew little by little, the nails little by little. You think you don't cut your nails for some time and then, oh, they're too long, you need to cut them. But never did you look at them and see them grow, did you? And yet, they've suddenly grown. Suddenly you say, oh, my hair has gone too long, I have to go cut it. Have you noticed you just cut the skin in some way? It's like a million forces come over there and stop the blood from all oozing out. And then after a few days, the skin is as it was. Isn't there a wonder in all things? Amazing thing. When a little child is born, it's the most amazing thing. How is the child born? Would you even think, suppose you had to make the universe, would you be thinking like, how do we get the babies to be born? Amazing thing. 2 cells meet and then out comes a baby, like fully formed, not an egg or something, baby, fully formed. You look at the child, you've got little nails also, and little ears also, little nose. It doesn't come out like a lump, Full, like it's a full human form or a full cat form or a full dog form, whatever form it came out in. It's a wonderment. So he says, Sarva Ascharyamayam. Everything is completely full of Ascharya. Everything is completely full of wonder. Maya, there's no word in English for Maya. Maya means like completely, like full of it. Like the ocean is salt Maya. You can say that. It's full of it. Okay. Something like that. Completely immersed in it. So, Sarvam, Ascharyam, Maya. Anantam, endless. Vishwatomukham, with a face on all sides. Vishwatomukham means mukham, face, Vishwato. On all sides, a face. Is this possible? Vishwatomukham, not even possible, right? How can we have a face on all sides? Vishwatomukham is a common phrase used in the scriptures. It means all-pervading. You find this all over the place, the concept of the Lord Vishwatomukham, facing every direction, meaning all-pervading. So again, you see intellectual and devotional, for it's resplendent, replete with wonders, and it has divine garlands and clothes and divine scents and lips, the unguents, you know what an unguent is, right? Like you put it on your skin and so you get nice fragrance. You're like, oh, nowadays I suppose unguents would be like face packs and whatever, those kind of things. Like he's put nicely. It's all become very beautiful after putting a nice face pack or doing some nice thing at the parlor. So all of this has been done, and imagine the Lord in all his brightness and splendor. All this is for the devotional. What is for the intellectual? After all this, Vishwatomukham, all-pervading, Anantam, endless. So I hope you're able to see how he's doing this. You're not supposed to see how he's doing this, because when you see it, or any individual sees it, they will see one thing. They will either see the devotional aspect or they will see the intellectual aspect, depending on what is inspiring to them in this. You're not expected to see both, but I hope as a student of the subject, you will be able to see how he's doing both. So this, there's an image, and that image is endless. It is all pervading. Simple common sense tells us that you cannot have a form which is all pervading. Why can't you have a form which is all pervading? I'm sure you all know that by now. Why can't you have a form which is all pervading?
Because a form has boundaries.
Very good. Because a form is a form only when there is an end to it. Okay, this is the form of my head because this is where it ends. Suppose there is no end, then where is the form? So form is a form only when there's a boundary. Something that is anantam, infinite. How on earth can it have a form? So it tells us it's infinite and it's all pervading. Impossible for a form to be there. Verse 12. Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhavedyuka Paduthita Yadi Bhasadrushi Sasyad Bhasastasya Mahatmanaha Divi Surya Sahasrasya Bhavedyuka Paduthita Yadi Bhasadrushi Sasyad Pasastasya Mahatmanaha. Divi. Divi means in the heavens, in the sky. Surya Sahasra. Surya, sun, Sahasra. Sahasra you all understand, right? What is Sahasra?
100.
1,000. 1,000 suns. Bhaved, if Yugapat, at one time, Uttita, suppose 1,000 suns have arisen at the same time. When in India, he is talking of 1,000 suns having arisen at the same time, please understand what that means. You look up at the sun, even now, midday, you look up at the sun. Can you look up at the sun in India? Not at the sun in London, at the sun in India. This is a text from India. Can you look at that sun in midday? Nobody can look at that sun. Nobody can go out in the sun. It's too hot. Now 1,000 of such suns have arisen at the same time. Devotional people will say, oh wow, 1,000 suns. Intellectuals will say, 1,000 suns. Huh?
You can't see it.
You can't see it. Not possible. So see how he's doing this. Isn't it very interesting to see how he does this? It's a really, in the sky, if 1,000 suns were to arise all at one time, yadi, if, sudrishesa, that light would be like this. O Mahatmanaha. O Mahatmana, this Mahatma's brilliance would be like that. In other words, this is not part of human experience. And because we're studying Advaita, I'm forced to tell you the Advaita meaning. Otherwise, it's preferable if we just look at it devotionally. That is the splendor of yourself. If 1,000 suns were to arise all together in the sky, that splendor would be the splendor of that exalted being. Yadi sadrushi sa, if it was sadrushi means like that kind of light, that would be the light of this great soul, of that exalted being. Now, light is always associated, not only in India, but across cultures, with knowledge. To be able to see things is considered wisdom. So eyes light, all these, to see things, all these are considered to be signs of wisdom. So when you talk about so much light, it's talking about absolute knowledge. Absolute knowledge, which is not thinkable. You cannot think of what is absolute knowledge. So there's various levels at which you can take this if you are going to interpret it, but you can just even enjoy the pure beauty of this. Verse 13. Yatraikastam jagat krutsnam prabhivartamanekada apascha deva devasya sharire pandavastada tatraikastam jagat krutsnam prabhivartamanekada apascha devasya sharire pandavastada. Tatre ekastam, there, ekastam, eka, one, stam, to be, there in one, jagat krutsnam, the entire world, prabhivaktam, anekada. Very interesting to read it, to appreciate it. There in one form, the whole world. Vibhaktam, pravibhaktam, it's a pradi tatpurush. Pravibhaktam, vibhaktam means divided, broken. Anekada, many ways. So the one in the many in the one. Apaschat, saw, deva devasya sharire, in the sharir, in the form of the Lord of the gods, and the God of the gods, Pandavaha tada. Then Pandava saw this. In that one form, he saw the entire divisions of this world. Ekasta. All the differences, all the demarcations dissolving into that one form. So you can, I'm sure by now you've got his general gist of it about how he's doing the devotional and intellectual path. Is that clear to everybody? And can you all see how he does this? Is that clear? Nobody's saying anything. Rajneesh has, okay. All right, fine. Rajneesh has a question. Thank you, Kalyan. The rest of you, okay, Momita. You're supposed to turn the page to see Malti. Okay. You're able to see, right, how he is. It's pretty clear. It's how he does this. You can feel very devotional about it. You can feel very intellectual about it. Both is so beautifully put together over here. And why it is so, the whole book does it. It's not like only this chapter does it. But here he's taken the devotion at a very high level, and it still makes perfect Advaitic sense. So that's why it's so interesting. Rajneesh, why Pandava instead of Arjuna used in this? Okay, so Rajneesh, I hope you remember the story that what has happened so far is that Arjuna asks, please show me the form. Okay, Krishna says, okay, fine, see it. But you will not be able to see it. The Dadami, I will give you the divine Chakshuhu. I will give you the Divyam Chakshuhu. I'll give you the divine eye by which you will see it. All right. Then at that stage, Sanjay starts speaking. And he tells us what is happening. he tells us this is what Arjuna is seeing. So all this report that we are currently reading is what Sanjaya is saying. In some time, Arjuna will start speaking. But right now, it is what Sanjaya is saying. Now, Sanjaya is supposed to be a wise person. Right? Sanjaya, well conquered. He is one able to see the war that Dhritarashtra has refused to see. Dhritarashtra has refused to see that war because he can't bear to see his sons die. He can neither bear to see his sons die, nor can he bear to think of them as should not fight the war, because that's what his son wants. So neither is he willing to deal with the fact that suppose he just didn't want his sons to die, suppose it was just that much, then it's very easy, he stops the war. But he also wants to pamper his son, and his son wants the war. So he can neither stop this war, nor can he see the consequence. He is like our mind. We can't stop ourselves from doing the act. We can't stop ourselves from being miserable about the consequence. This is the nature of the human mind. Now, a wise person draws our attention to the madness that is going on. So, Arjuna over here represents not Arjuna himself, but the virtuous qualities which are trying to be defeated. So, Sanjaya is saying to Dhritarashtra literally that please note the Pandavas have this on their side. He doesn't care what Arjuna is saying. He is telling Dhritarashtra, see what the Pandavas have on their side. So, he has at all times, he has always worked to prevent this war, Sanjaya. Nobody succeeded, of course. Everybody tried to prevent the war. Nobody succeeded at this. He's even trying now. He's saying, see what it is which the Pandavas have. Are you sure you want to go through with this war? That's why Pandava, not Arjuna. Probably. These are all matters of interpretation. So you can really say whatever you want. Okay,
Sure.
you think
Thank
that
you.
would be a
Sure.
valid interpretation of why Pandava here and not Arjuna?
Thank you, Janki. Thank you.
So, there in the body of the God of gods, Pandava then saw the whole world with its manifold divisions resting in one. Remember the last verse spoke about knowledge? I mean, if you wish to interpret it, it will go to knowledge. And then what is knowledge? Knowledge is our capacity to see the one in the many. To the extent we have knowledge, to that extent we are able to amalgamate everything into one picture. Either I see, men and women, Indians and non-Indians, Maharashtrians and Gujaratis and Punjabis, Hindus, Muslims, Christians. I see so many divisions and demarcations. Or I see one. I see common humanity amongst all of us. So the more I'm able to see the commonness, the more it is knowledge. And the more I see the diversity, the more it is ignorance. So what is the definition of knowledge? Is tatra ekastam jagat krutsnam prabhivattam anekata. In that one, ekastah, in that situated, established in the one, prabhivattam, all the many divisions, demarcations. Like India is one. There is the north, south, the east, the west. But India is one. So if I'm able to see the oneness, it is my knowledge. If I'm able to see divisions and demarcations, it is my ignorance. So that's what he said, there in the body of gods. That means in the final analysis, what is the oneness you say is the divinity in and through everything. Even if I say in all Hindus and Christians and Muslims, in all men and women, in all straight people and gay people, in all, I don't know, what are the divisions here? All Indians and Americans, and Nigerians, and whatever divisions I see, all these divisions are divisions of humanity, right? But I can take it a step further. What about the tiger and the mosquito and the rose? What about the bacteria and the amoeba? But if I have to see oneness with everything, then the only way I can see it is Deva Devasya Sharire, in the body of the God of the gods. In other words, when I realize the self. In the form of the Lord, I see all the divisions, all the demarcations dissolve. That means a sense of oneness and identification. Shivatas. What if I'm inspired of both intellectual approach and devotional approach? But after having known the concepts emerged from intellectual approach, I also tend to think I'm cheating myself whenever I'm going to Hare Krishna Mandir and sing and clap with other devotees. But this approach of devotional dance and clapping helps me shut my mind quickly. So what is this? I'm a bit confused sometimes. I'm a Sri Lankan. Yes, I know you're Sri Lankan. You told me last time. I'm a Sri Lankan, learned Vedanta from Umaji and came to Australia and started going to Hare Krishna temple as it's closer. Okay, nice. So, Sivathas, the confusion is only as far as it's an individual thing. There is no confusion in the actual path. Each one of us is made up of a body, mind, and intellect. With our body, we do service. With our minds, we have devotion. With our intellect, we do knowledge. And when we do all of these things properly, we grow. So if you ask me, not that you're asking me, but if you ask me, please go ahead to the temple, sing, dance, allow your mind to be seeped in the thought of the Lord. That's great. And get up in the morning and do your morning study and allow your intellect to be seeped in the thought of the realities and truths of life. And during the day, whatever work you do, let it be some of service. And your whole life is coated by the divinity. So there's no confusion really. All three are acceptable. All three have to be done. You don't have to choose any of this. So there is no cheating at all. No, it is in fact the whole process. In each of these, whether it is service or devotion or knowledge, you will, as you do it, find subtler and subtler levels. Okay. All right. Then this verse is clear, right? Verse 13 clear. Any more questions on verse 13? You're all very quiet today. I don't know. Everything is understood. Nothing is understood. You're all going to sleep. What has happened here? I have no idea.
Clear, Janviji.
Okay. All right. Then verse 14. Tatasa vismaya vishtaha rushtaro dhananjayaha pranamya shirasa devam krutanjalirabhashata tatasa vismaya vishto rushtarama dhananjayaha pranamya shirasa devam krutanjalirabhashata. Krutanjali abhashata. Krutanjali. Anjali means hands. Krutanjali. So you have folded hands. Abhashata. Said. Who said? Dhananjaya said. So Rajneesh, you will ask now, why Dhananjaya?
Yes,
Dhananjaya,
Janki.
because the victor of wealth. Okay? He is not only virtuous, he is the victor of wealth. He's still trying to tell poor Dhritarashtra, please understand.
Sorry, ma'am, what did you say? The vicar of?
Victor. Victor of wealth. So he who has won wealth. Dhananjaya. Dhana. He has earned a lot for his country because he would go out on conquest and they would bring back whatever for the sake of their countries. He filled their coffers. So this Dhananjaya, so he was a Pandava, means he's the virtuous one. He's always worked for a higher cause. He is Dhananjaya. He is the one who has earned a lot of wealth. He's a very successful person. He's still telling Dhritarashtra, this is the person you're fighting. Those who have always been virtuous, those who have always been victorious. But there's also another reason for the word Dhananjaya. And the other reason for Dhananjaya is, just think about it. Krutanjali Abhashata. Abhashata said, Krutanjali, having folded arms. When you fold arms, it's a sign of humility. So who is the one who has folded arms, who folded his palms and bowed down to this great power? It is Dhananjaya. In other words, any victory that you have in this world will have to bow its head down to the self, to God. Nothing that you can achieve in this world can in any way equal or better the Lord or his representatives on earth. Suppose there was a great, what should I say, a great victor. Okay, he was a great king and he had conquered many kingdoms, or the whole world he has conquered. And this great victor, this great winner of wealth, this great king, comes in the presence of Buddha. Now, who will bow down to whom? So whenever there is material victory, it will always bow down to a spiritual victory. Okay, suppose there are saints in the king's court. Who will bow down to whom? When Modi, even today, meets the saints or somebody from who bows down to whom? So God is the highest, and so are his representatives on earth. So that's what he's also indicating, that Dhananjaya is now bowing down to this great explosion of power which he has seen. Tata means then. Then means after seeing all these things. Because remember, Dhritarashtra is telling us that he's seeing all these things. Sa Vishmaya Vishtaha. Vismaya Vishtaha. He is like, oh my God. He's OMG. He's like that. What is this? Rushta Roma. Rushta Roma means his hair are standing on end. His hair were also standing on end much earlier. Remember when? Earlier also he went through this thing. You remember when?
At the beginning.
Right at the beginning. When he was terrified of the war. So that time also he was horripulating. Now also he's horripulating. I mean, chapter 1. No. But imagine the difference between that and this. Pranamya Shirasa, bowing his head down. Krutanjali Abhashata. He bowed down his head, folded his palms, and he said. And I hope you're able to understand the significance of saying all this, because remember, Krishna and Arjuna are cousins. They're childhood friends. They've been like, they had adda together. They were hanging out together. And then now suddenly, what is this? You have to see that. No, see some childhood friend of yours who you have been very, very pally with all your life. And suddenly, this person is simply the God of gods. Can you imagine what you feel? So he is now bowing his head down, holding his palms and saying what you will hear now. Verse 15. Arjuna Uvacha Pashami Devamstava Devadehe Sarvamstatha Bhuta Vishesha Sanghan Brahmanamisham Kamalasanamastham Rushim cha Sarvanurgamscha Divyam Arjuna Uvacha Pashyami Devamstava Devadehe Sarvamstatha Bhuta Vishesha Sangham Brahmanamisham Kamalasanaस्थं Rushischa Sarvanuragamscha Divyam. Arjuna Vacha, with his hands folded, with his head bowed, he says, Pashyami Deva, Tava Deva Dehi. Pashyami, I see. Devams Tava Devi, O God, I see in your Tava Dehi, in your Deha. Sarvams Tatha Bhuta Vishesha Sangham. I see all the various beings. Bhuta Vishesha Sangha. Sangha means the host, all of it. See the host of beings. I see all beings in you. Who all do I see? I see Brahma, Isham. I see the Lord Brahma. Kamala means lotus. Asana, Sthaha. Sitting on his asan. Being on his asan of the lotus. I see Rishis. I see all the Rishis. Sarvan, all. Urugam. Urugam is the seconds. So what is he seeing? He is seeing the Lord Brahma sitting on his seat, which is the lotus. He is seeing the Urugam, the snakes, the serpents, Divyan, the divine serpents. Paschami Deva. I see Devan, the gods, Tavadehe, in your body. Sarvan, I see all the gods. So he's saying, I see this host of beings. I see all the gods. I see the Lord Brahma sitting on his lotus. I see the divine serpents and snakes. Gods in the heavens represents divine souls in heaven. The sages represent the perfected souls on earth. The serpents always represent ego. So all the egoistical people. Basically, he's seeing the whole range. He's seeing the range from the most egoistical people to the most divine people. So there's the egoistical people, perfected people, divine people, all the various hosts of beings. I can see all this. And the serpents are divine also. Now, why does he say divine if they're so egoistical? Can you answer that question? Why is he calling them divine if they're so egoistical?
They also have desires.
They also have?
Desires.
Right. So why divine?
The substratum is still a self.
Yes. Because negative or positive, they're all the self. Remember that brass vessel? You know the self? There's a brass vessel. One is tarnished, one is bright. Now, the bright one is bright because it has not allowed itself or it has cleaned its varnish. If the negative one also cleans itself, it will become bright just like this one. There is no difference. The same thing. Negative, positive, whatever decisions we wish to make, inherently, each one is the same thing. And therefore, when you see the divine in everybody, you do namaskar. Just like Arjuna is doing namaskar to all of it, not just some of it, all of it. It's not that I do matha take only in the temple. Mentally, I do that everywhere. That is why Indians greet each other with namaskar. The rest of the world also adopted this during COVID times. But that was for a different reason. We don't do it out of hygiene reasons. What we do it for is, if you look at the formation of your hand, it's a very interesting formation philosophically. Look at the palm. What's it like? There is your palm, and it has 5 fingers. These 5 fingers represent the Panchakoshas. The Panchakoshas come from the palm. So all our 5 fingers are different. You are different, I am different. All our Panchakoshas are different. But the palm in all hands is the same. So when I do namaskar, what am I saying? That you are the self in Panchakoshas. I am the self in Panchakoshas. To that one self, which is same in both of us, to that, I bow down. I'm doing namaskar to my own self. So once you understand the beauty of what we are doing, why are we doing this? Yourself and myself is no different. That's what namaskar is all about. Even though the Panchakoshas are all varied and different. Okay, so we'll do verse 15 a little bit more next time, because we still have to talk about Brahma, the creator. He's seen Brahma, he'll see Vishnu, he's going to see Maheshwara, he's going to see the whole lot. We'll talk about it next time. And